today with Chartley Coffee, Owen from Chartley Coffee, just to talk about our lovely local suppliers and celebrate 40 years of Canalside. And it actually is how many years of Chartley? 44?
Almost, yeah, not far off. They're 43, going on 44, yeah.
So, and it was your parents that started the business?
Yeah, and they're still involved, ridiculously, despite my best efforts. No, my mum still works in and about the office, and my dad still gets around and stuff. So yeah, they started in 1979. So.
And you were born? Can you?
I was born in '82. I know. But yeah.
And so, do you have any fun childhood memories from back in the day when the business first started?
I mean, it's weird because it was just always the case. It didn't seem different. And then, like, you grow up and have your own kids, and you look back and you're like, oh, what on earth? What was going on? It was like, I distinctly remember hand packing filter sachets of coffee,
really?
Like volume weighing it with plastic cups that we cut to the right height and stuff. With this, like, I often laugh with when we're packing sometimes and stuff, and there's a sealer that was like a foot sealer.
Foot pump.
Yeah, and it hadn't been WD-40'd in like since it was made, like 50 years previous, and so every time you pressed it, there's like and I still like have nightmares of that sound from packing filter sachets as a kid. But no, it's all good fun. But like, I always remember in the house, you know, you knew when a VAT return was due, so there was stuff all over the dining room table, and like this, it's just part of.
So it's in your blood and ingrained, really.
Yes, whether I asked for it or not.
And so when did they let you try your first coffee? You remember? And was it decaf?
Absolutely not. My dad has still got, like, even though our decaf is like Swiss water decaf, and it's sort of like a decaf is amazing now, my dad still has it in his head from originally where it used to be like chemically decaffeinated and things like that.
Yeah.
And so it's like, and it's also like I think an old-fashioned man thing of just like decaf, like so,
no alcohol, no.
No, exactly.
Full.
Yeah, so you're saying something about my character, exactly. But no, so no, I definitely had some filter coffee. It was my first, would have been my first coffee. So yeah, my parents were quite cool. They were like, I think it's because my mum used to live in France for a bit years and years ago, and there was that element of like give people a bit of wine with a meal, give them a bit of a coffee. Yeah, and I didn't go wild. I just ended up drinking shit tons of coffee for the rest of my life. That plan didn't work at all. It's just totally backfired.
They started the addiction early anyway, that's good. And how do you think the business has changed from then to now? What's the biggest difference?
So we used to get coffee roasted by an Italian family in London, and they were right in the centre of London by Pancras, and like back when London wasn't quite so, you know, you could drive through the middle of it and all the rest of it. And I again remember I've got two older brothers, and we used to have who gets to go with my dad in a van to go to London to pick up stock, and it was like you get a day off school. It was just like,
that's good.
Gareth went last time. It's my turn. But I remember doing all that stuff when I was a kid as well. It was brilliant. But then years and years ago, we made the jump to just actually control. And this is like, that was back when coffee had to kind of be Italian somehow. People, it was just associated with Italian families and stuff. But as like the next wave of coffee came through from America and that, the turn of the millennium, we kind of went with it. And exactly. And that happened to be when I left uni. And so like, we started to do everything in-house ourselves, and we've kind of been doing that ever since, bit by bit. So
And you've been doing it since you left uni, or were you doing
Pretty much, yeah. So I just shouted at my dad a lot until that we needed to do it, and who sort of begrudgingly relented. But no, I say it like he's, you know, totally back. He was totally for it in the end, but it just took a bit of like convincing that that's the way that the coffee market was going, because it had been the same for like years and years and years. So yeah.
It's funny your story about London, because my husband Doug, so Chris and Wendy's youngest son, he they used to take strawberries to market once a week, and it meant that he could go early, get a bacon sandwich before school, and they used to fight over it as well, because you could only get one of them in the van. But they used to fight over who could go to the early morning, and like Wendy always says, it's the only time either of them got up early for school, because they get to go to the market, get a bacon sandwich, and they come back.
That makes total sense to me. Unless school was providing bacon sandwiches, like that wasn't going to change.
And what would you say your proudest achievement is? There's probably lots of little things along the way, but anything that sort of means the most to you as you've gone along, or?
I don't. That's hard to put an individual thing on it, but I kind of think, like, as a general thing that's ongoing is is customer retention, which is like a horrible, like businessy sounding word, but it is just a measure of how pleased people are or not with what you're doing. And sometimes it's unavoidable, somebody shuts a business or moves or whatever, but generally speaking, we've got customers that have been customers for a long time, and we like to think that's because we look after them. It's not like some kind of weird sales pitch, but it's nice when the phone rings, it's someone we know, and you end up talking and whatever, and like 10% of it's about coffee, the rest of it's just talking. But it's a nice. I think that's the bit that we've not lost that over the years, and that even if we've grown and we've taken customers that are national or whatever, we still have that same relationship with them. Yeah, and if they're not that kind of business, to be honest, we don't generally look for it anyway, because we don't. That's not how we operate. So
well, I know that's how we feel. You've provided coffee to the cafe since day one, really.
Yeah, it's mad.
And I know everyone enjoys ringing in and speaking to your mum on the phone, placing their orders, and it's normally a long conversation.
Just backing up what I just said. What I'm saying is productivity in our office is awful, absolutely awful.
But they love it, and whenever we've needed something in COVID and it was a mad dash because we suddenly got busy with the coffee hut, it was there the next day, or we could come down and pick something up. So it is that personal touch and that sort of service, and that's why it's nice that it's local, you know. And in the pandemic, where you struggle to get things because you've got local suppliers, it always helps, doesn't it? Because they're willing to go a bit above and beyond for you, and it's all sort of accessible and easier to get to as well.
I think as well, like people, particularly in the Haywoods and roundabout villages, probably felt the same way about you guys during COVID, because I remember you, all your staff, friends, cousins, friends of friends, cousins, anyone with a vehicle that was willing to just put some stuff in the back and get it out. There were people who weren't allowed to leave their houses, there were people who were like frail and didn't have anyone to help them in that, and you were literally like, there was no stock of anything, you couldn't book an online delivery shop, and you guys were just piling round with just whatever you could get your hands on, be like, because you've got good relationships with your suppliers, presumably you were still able to get stuff.
Well, it's the first time we ever stocked toilet roll in the farm shop, and there's a hint of toilet roll still in there from there, but it is one of those things, and you just adapt and change.
You turned into like preppers, like from the world end. You just still got like a container of toilet roll.
It was like flour was just this highly sought after. You could change flour for anything at that time, but it's all live and learn and adapt and stuff, isn't it? Really.
But it's nice that those relationships actually mean something. People often talk about it, but it actually translated into real, actual results that made a difference. So that's cool.
And do you remember the first time you ever came to Canalside, or?
I was going to say I definitely was involved with strawberries before you had the coffee shop. Yeah, absolutely, definitely. Like that thing of stealing strawberries, just wandering around. Sorry, sorry.
It's not how, folks.
If you're a kid and you're on the 8th row along and you're just like, oh, I picked my punnet like ages ago, and then you're just like, oh, the police haven't come, I'll have one more. Like, and then by the time you get your punnet back, you're like, I don't look at enough strawberries.
I'm so full. Come out that are bright red mouth, their white t-shirt is red. Have you had any strawberries? No. Their mum's like, they might have had one. You're thinking, and the rest.
So I'm afraid I'm one of those scumbags. Sorry.
Yeah. Wow, I'll tell Chris and Wendy.
But I definitely remember that, and I definitely remember originally meeting Chris and Wendy when they showed me the plans, and and it seemed almost outrageous at the time, because you were known for being a steady presence, and then all of a sudden it was just like, wow.
So, I think that's the biggest thing with Chris and Wendy. They're not afraid to take a bit of a risk. I think they'll say they're prepared to work every day on the farm. I've known that they've held like pieces of plastic onto the top of like tunnels and things when it's stormy, and they'll do all that, but they also they will take that next step and that little risk and push it on.
But for every like bit above the ground that you see of like, oh, that's a nice shop and they seem sustainable and whatever, and there's so many businesses that like the greenwash and whatever. But what was funny is when they were going over the plans, and it's like they've got like energy sources from here, and they've planned drainage that does this, and they did everything just that, even a bunch of stuff that no one will ever know that they paid for, but they were like, no, we're doing it properly, and they're doing it to their own rules rather than just to look good and to post a. And I think
as the second, like the next generation in, that's definitely something that we're very mindful of. They always did everything properly and thoroughly, and we definitely feel that responsibility to sort of.
Is Jeff being told this?
Yeah.
He
has. Yeah, he does always have a budget, but he does always try and do it the same way. And it's definitely, that's part of our values, and I feel like it's the same for you. You've got your parents' sort of legacy that you want to sort of carry on and do it in that way, and I think that's why the sort of synergy between the two works really well.
Yeah, no, I agree. There's definitely a bit of a, it's not a pressure or anything, but it's you're aware, especially the customers that know my parents and also know us, and it's know me, and it's our staff. So yeah, it's definitely that you're aware of it when you.
Okay, and our last question is going to be: do you have any exciting plans for the future that we should all know about, or is it all top secret?
We've done tea bags that we're just starting to release now, and at some point we'll get clearer time to do our own design and stuff. We've started doing other branded ones for other people, but we're just going to start releasing our own, so to make them more generally available, which is cool. And this is genuinely literally not known by anyone, so you may just have to cut this out. But yeah, we've got a packing line coming in about a month and a half for hot chocolate. So we're going to start blending our own chocolate, purely because my son was like, you could call it Chartley in the chocolate factory, and I'm like, oh my god, I need something to do with chocolate now. It's just like, I should have taken that to the bank. Where's your business plan? My son thought this name, and I'm going with it. Exactly, that's what I'm going with, so deal with it. But don't worry, we're not going to call it that.
You should, 100%.
Absolutely
100%.
can't.
That's so good.
And then somebody has to be declared to be Willy Wonka, so I don't know. My dad can take that mantle. It's fine. Photoshop our top hat on him. But yeah, so that's something coming down the line. So,
great.
So yeah.
Well, thank you very much for your time.
It's all right. No worries. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.